Yeah. I noticed that one of your questions was about why brown, and really I wanted it as an excuse to go outside in the winter and look for a color. And people will just sit on their couch and all day, and then the day is gone. And I want people to just get outside and start learning how to see things.
Yeah.
And so this was an excuse to kind of frame it as go out and look for mushrooms, go out and look for leaves, the things that are naturally brown. It's still a beautiful
Yes.
garden and nature, and don't just try to look for the pretty flowers. So
I really liked that when I started seeing the browns on your Instagram,
yeah.
because of that, because I thought, I'm in a place where there's a lot of color, Portugal,
Mhm.
because of the houses. In the winter it does
Yeah.
get gray, but it's very colorful. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's easy to find color. So when I
Mhm.
saw your work, I thought, oh, that is so important, because like I have friends that live in Scotland, and you end up having very dark winters. It's very similar, actually. And so when I saw your
Yeah.
colors and how vibrant they were, because it didn't have that sad wintry look.
Yeah. And it's easy for gray to be so sad and moody. And I think, well, the Pacific Northwest is very gray, but it would be interesting to do another series of the really dark colors, but not necessarily do it in a doldrums way.
The thing that you were saying about the having a camera and going out for a walk, it changes everything, doesn't it? Because it gives you something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
it makes you look and do something with purpose.
Yeah. And you don't wallow so much in at least I don't want to accuse anybody of wallowing, but if I take I take my camera or my phone. I take my phone with me to photograph, and then if I'm not well, or if I'm a little down or something, I forget about it, because you get into looking for things. And
yeah, definitely.
It's a
And
really
I've been
good.
trying to do a photograph almost every day.
Yeah, that's a cool
So,
project. Yeah, to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't always post everything every day, but I have the camera in my pocket and it's really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, when did you start getting interested in plants? What made you, well, of course you live in a place that is just so green and so beautiful, but what
Well,
influenced you?
I'm really lucky. My mom is a botanical photographer. She's been a photographer for 50 years.
Oh,
And I've always followed her around. We would go to garden tours. And just even as a little girl, I've always been following her around.
oh my
And she
God.
handed me my first camera, I think, when we were in high school. And then in 2009, I got a digital camera. And so I switched at that point. And so I've been taking pictures since then.
Uh-huh.
And primarily gardens, just because that's what I started with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so lucky that you had that as an introduction.
It
Um,
really is wonderful.
yeah. And
Um,
did that also make you interested in working with plants? Is that what you just went naturally to that, or?
Definitely. I actually have a career in biochemistry and software. And
Uh-huh.
then when the kids just needed more care, I said, okay, well, what can I do with plants? And so that's when I got into more of the container design part of it,
Uh-huh.
because you could plant other people's containers in the spring and the fall when the kids were in school. And so it was something for me to do.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. And then if you're going to market yourself in a business, you need to have good photography. So I really
Yeah.
had to study what makes a good image and
Hmm.
why does it work. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So did you do any courses, or it was really you had the best teacher? You.
I had the best teacher, and it was looking to see how she would frame things in the camera. Her teacher was Imogen Cunningham, who was part of the F64 group.
Oh my.
Yeah. So
Oh.
Imogen was almost a grandmother.
Oh my God.
It was really sweet to be able
Ah,
to learn from that style, and
yeah.
everything was super crisp all the way
Yeah.
through an image. And my style is completely different. It's a very much of an F2 to F4, so it's a very soft background.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that highlights a plant better. So if you have a really busy garden with
Yeah.
lots of things going on, then if you soften the background, you can really highlight that one plant.
Right.
So
And also the thing is that when Imogen Cunningham was photographing, I mean, it was the nature of those cameras. It was, and also it was the style to have everything crispy and everything sharp, and it was a different.
actually, she set that style.
Oh,
She was
really?
part of the F64 group, and there
Yeah.
were about 10 photographers or so who really developed that as as a new and breaking, a cutting edge type
Yeah.
of photography. So yeah, she and Ansel Adams and all of them, they changed it and they made it
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
So
they did change it a lot.
my heart is in the with plants in the garden, but
Uh-huh.
I like to play with the plants in the pot first because then you can combine and test out interesting color combinations before you invest in all of them in your garden. So
Well, so that's interesting. So you use the pot almost like a sketch pad.
it's a sketch pad. It's a test. It's like a laboratory.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just draw things together and see what works. Um, I now live on 2.5 acres,
Oh,
and so if I need to develop that whole garden, I want to make sure that I've got a good plant combination in a pot before I buy 10 or 15 of the same plant. There's
uh-huh.
another picture I took. I don't think I've posted it on my Instagram. Maybe it showed up on one of my stories. And it's a plant that exudes water out of its leaves in the early morning.
Uh-huh.
And it forms little beads of water all the way around the rim
Oh
of
my
the leaf.
God.
And I know it's a scientific principle, not just that it's dew on the leaf. And so I'm like, I was so excited to see it. And I told everybody in the nursery, oh, come on, everyone, look at this. And so I do like to look for a demonstration of something scientific, ecological, that as well. So
Because it's amazing that you're telling me that. Well, of course, it's your background also that makes such a difference. Because when when I look at your photographs, I can see it's just like they're very artistic. The composition is great, the colors, everything. And now you're mentioning you also put in the scientific information visually, right? And
yeah,
I wouldn't have said that,
yeah.
so I love it that it's very discreetly, it's all the information is in there.
Yeah, I think I posted recently that there was the madrona and the beautiful peeling bark, and then I went into the caption and all about how they're stressed in the Pacific Northwest, and so it's a way of getting people to look at something and then dive a little bit deeper if they're interested in it. So
Yeah.
I guess my passion is getting people to look
Uh-huh.
and see instead of just whiz by things.
Right.
And so with a project like Brown's, it's getting people outside every day. If you hand them a camera, then they have to consciously make a decision to frame what's in that picture.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just like snap, 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 snap. It's
Right.
like, why am I slowing down to look at this combination? Sometimes for me, it's just color, and sometimes it's demonstrating a principle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think it's true what you said is I think it's a big problem nowadays, and it has been getting worse and worse that we look at things we don't look, we just pass by things and we're not paying attention. So to put a little something in your mind like I'm going to photograph brown, it's fantastic because it's you really stop and then yeah.
It gives you some constraints.
Yeah.
And it makes you look for that thing. And I think with your door project, I mean, Portugal is so vivid. I was there only for a couple of days many years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I remember the tiles
Oh,
and
they're beautiful.
all the
Yeah.
details. So, I mean, you could have a series of doors and then you could have a series of tiles, and it gives you the constraint to look for
Yes.
certain details that you might not have seen before. Yeah, I have only just recently decided to start offering my services to sell to landscapers, so that I can do their websites and like if they ever need magazine articles written or something like that.
This is something that I was interested in because your images, and now that I know you have a photo background, your images have not only, the colors are very, they stand out. They get very enhanced with the type of lighting you use, but you also work a lot with texture. So when you start photographing something, is there something that attracts you first? Do you kind of look at the overall, or what pulls you in?
Well, I'm really, really nearsighted, so I have to be up right close to something to really appreciate it. And so I look at color to draw me over to that plant, and then I'm looking for, the edge of the petal, the combination of something small and something large, what's the texture of the leaf. So I'm usually looking at those kinds of details as the first thing I look at. And then I usually pull back a little bit and try to look at the plant combination, so 3 or 4 plants together. And I think about those because what's going to work in the garden? I know, like with hostas, it's the big round leaf, and then you have a nice textured grass, and so you're looking for that contrast and texture. So I'm always looking at those little details up close, and it's much harder for me to draw way back and do a big landscape image.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So does it become, because of the gardening, does it become a lot about the shapes, color and shapes a little bit, or?
It's color and shape, and then I'm also drawn to the science behind it. So if I find a really good plant that's good for a gravel garden, and if it's planted in a gravel garden, I'm more likely to take that picture than if it's in the wrong place. And I know it's not going to work.
So I wanted to ask you if can you give 3 simple iPhone tips for or flower or plant?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the 3 tips I have for using your smartphone is to zoom with your feet. So to get up closer to the image instead of using the zoom, actually, when you press and zoom in on the camera, just get closer to the subject. Because you're going to get a sharper image.
Right.
And that way you can think about what you're composing in the camera instead of trying to crop it later.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of 2 tips. My second tip is to delete liberally. Delete a lot of things that don't work. And it's okay to take 10 shots, but think about why this shot didn't work and that shot didn't work. And use your favorite button. So you look through 10 images, favorite one, and then delete the rest of them. You don't need them.
It's true, but I have such a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all.
Well, yeah, if you've done a photo shoot of a bunch of different images of a tree, one of them captures your heart.
Yeah.
You do not need to look at the other ones anymore.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Get rid of them. And then the third tip I have is there's an app called Snapseed.
Oh, I love that app. Yes.
Yeah, because it will fix a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun to play with it
too. I love that app. It saved me so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes you think like a photographer. So like, okay, what, do I have to lower the highlights? Oh, maybe I shouldn't have too much sky in the image, or it'll vignette something for you and you can say, oh, okay, I really liked that contrast. So, fix a lot of mistakes. You get rid of that stop sign in the background or.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, those are good tips.
Yeah.
Very good. And then I wanted to ask you one more thing that I was very curious because I love journals. So I saw that you have a journal a self-print journal for sale and on your website. And I wanted to know if that's for the amateur gardener or professional gardener. What was the idea? Is that to...
Yeah, I would say that it's for the beginning gardener, because so none of the journals work for me. If you have a pre-printed one, you need more space to doodle, or you need more space to develop an idea. And then the daily garden journals, like they're all pre-printed, and then I feel guilty about wasting space.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get out and look at the weather yesterday. And so then all of the blank pages just make me feel bad.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
wanted to develop something that you could use when it was important to you.